feel the blood creeping up from the heathens. Got will, got fight, got pride, got reason. If they wanna go eat, then you know I'm gon' feed them. If you're coming for me, hope you're ready for a demon. I got eyes in the back of my head, I'm seeing. Take me for granted and you know I'm leaving. I'ma take what's mine with the webs I'm weaving. I could take this crowd from seeing to believing. Got a taste for blood and my tongue keeps bleeding from the words I spit. So sharp, so freezing, so cold. Behold, frostbite they feeling. I could tear you apart or I could go heal them. Don't believe in fate, don't believe in ceilings. I just need a taste and my mind starts peeling. I don't pace myself, I grind on kneeling. Got lust for change, I just love the feeling. I ain't gonna give up. Got too little time, I'ma live up. Head down, push forward through the tough times. Cause anything worth doing is a tough climb. And I ain't gonna give up. Got too little time, I'ma live up. Head down, push forward through the tough times. Cause anything worth doing is a tough climb. Cause I'ma live life for the fight, yeah, I'm here to get it. I got drive, got sight, always have a vision. I don't lie at night, I be in my feelings, I'ma be fine.
going on, people? Welcome to the Black Man Unfiltered Network. This is the one-on-one sports show. My name is Dante.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Shawnee.
And we got more than, I'll put it like this. We got more than the NBA finals and more than the NBA going on right now. So we're going to start off with football, then transition our way into basketball as the game 3 tips off in about a little less than an hour, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So, man, I'm going to start off like we was talking about it in the chat before the show. I don't know where the Los Angeles Rams are finding this money and how they're doing this with the salary cap. Because I didn't even go to I didn't go to Phil Yates, who tweeted it, or Schefter. I actually went to a co-host, a radio guy here in Dallas, and he was just, he's been on it all off season about how the Rams are doing this. They just won, and they saying F the picks, spend the money, while you got the Cowboys being conservative. And it's just like it hasn't produced anything. But I mean, for them to spend, I want to say $460 million in one off season. Now, I haven't been able to see exactly what's real money, what's bonuses, and what's that little fake NFL contract money. But they gave 4 for 160. Cooper Kupp just got an extension, 5 for 110. Aaron Donald was the big one. Because his average salary is over $30 million a season. An extension, 3 for 95. Bobby Wagner, 5 for 50. And Allen Robinson, 3 for 46.5 million. And it's just one of those deals where it's like, man, they just keep doing it and keep finding a way. Now there is a cost to it, and that's the one thing that I think some people need to realize. There's a cost, and one of the costs is they lost 6 starters this offseason. So it's like, while they're like, hey, we got Allen Robinson, they lost a lot of people from that Super Bowl team, and they get middle round guys, but that roster's thin, and more than any team in the NFL, they get a few injuries and a tough spot. But I mean, when you riding high, you just got to keep riding.
Yeah, last year they was pretty like with majority of the Super Bowl winners. You got to be pretty fortunate on the injury side. Like you can just look at the Cowboys. What was that 2020 when Dak got hurt?
Yeah.
Along with some other folks, and you can just see now the Cowboys don't have the caliber players as many caliber players as the Rams do. They almost used to back in like 2016 when all of a sudden Zeke, all them first step on the scene, but they kind of went down. But yeah, totally agree with you how the frustrations with the Cowboys, and you can hear it here in the DFW area, how they're not aggressive during the off season, and their big thing is always talking about the cap. That's all you hear about. They so worried about the cap. Meanwhile, you have a team over there who seem like they just don't care about the cap
at all.
Yeah, they will sign big players. They will take care. Most of the time, the Cowboys do the same thing too. They'll take care of their players with the Rams. They take care of their players if they're qualified. They key components to their team, but they're not afraid to go. They basically don't put a lot of stock on the draft. They put a majority of their stock on free agency. Yeah. They get out. I would never forget. I always remember back before they pretty much just canceled the whole station as a whole now. But when ESPN radio was here in Dallas, and Nate Newton, it was a show he was on there. His big thing he always brought up was players. You can say all you want. You can always talk about the schemes. You can talk about offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. It all comes down to the dudes on the field, and you got to have the players to make the impact. They the one who make the impact. They impact the game. And with the Cowboys, it seems like even if they have a good team, eventually they will go against a team that has high caliber players, and then they'll just that's the roadblock the Cowboys can't get over.
Yeah,
So you see teams they invest in players. Cowboys try to invest in drafts, and with that, when you draft a player, you basically kind of making yourself like you have one window with Zeke and Dak, and then has that window go, okay, then they start to kind of fade out, especially Zeke. You don't even know what you're going to get for him the year to year. And then all of a sudden but you don't get no key free agents during the time they're here, during their window. And then now you're trying to build through the free agent, through the draft again. So meanwhile, Zeke's window, Amari window is come and gone, and then, so when you build to the draft, I don't know, what a team may average draft about 8 to 10 players a draft, somewhere around there.
So somewhere like you could say 7 or 8, or keep it even set. I'll say 7 or 8. Most of them have 7 picks, and then teams do get the comp picks.
Yeah.
But the issue the Cowboys run into, and Marcus, shout out to you, appreciate you turning in. When you talk about boxing, I have been watching some of that boxing, but some of them I've been catching them on replay, so I didn't want to just talk on it if I couldn't see it all. Now that Haney fight, I caught the whole fight, and he dominated that dude. I'm not even a boxing pro, but I could tell he thoroughly handled that guy, like thoroughly. and I mean in his home stadium. So that was impressive. I appreciate you checking us out, Marcus. But as far as like what you do with it, if you draft so well, you end up having to pay the guys. And what the Cowboys haven't been able to do is find a way to pay them, but to pay the right players or pay them at the right time. Like for me, I would pay guys early, So even if it does, because in the NFL, since it's not the NBA, you literally have whoever gets paid last gets paid most. Unless it's a situation like Mahomes. You knew Mahomes was the cream of the crop, and until Rodgers did his deal, he was going to be the top paid guy. So it's just kind of one of those things. And I want to say, because I know we talk about team building a little bit, is what they're doing sustainable? Because eventually, if you want to look at it as the salary cap can be manipulated, but from what I've heard from people talking about it, eventually you manipulate it, you kick the can, you restructure deals, because part of the reason why the Rams are able to do this, from what I've heard, I haven't fully got to check into it, but they're giving the extension so that the guys won't have as big as a number. So the first year number when you do an extension is normally small, and then the second year it'll be bigger. Or some people do it where the second year is huge and then the third year is not, or they keep redoing the deal. At some point, the Rams will have to pay the piper for that. And the only thing is, they're trying to build a base in LA, and if they get two or three Super Bowls out of it, it's worth it. But if they just get the one, it's still worth it, and they're building the base. But eventually, you'll look up, and it's like, if a team drafts and gets, if you hit on 3 players in the draft, 3 starters or 3 starters and some other guys that can play special teams, that's a pretty good draft, But and when you talk about windows, teams like the Cowboys, I felt like another small window is open. Parsons is a generational defensive talent, and I think he's going to be a guy like Khalil Mack, where he's going to make depending on his snap count, he's going to make an All-Pro team as defensive end and linebacker. When you get a guy like that, you have to build around him. And with that 2021 group, and even though I'm kind of overshadowing the 2020 group because they're in year 3, between that 2020 class and that 21 class, if those guys step up, then they'll have a good season. And my thing is, I like to see the proven product. So I've been pessimistic about their offseason. And I know somebody like on Facebook, they was like, they didn't have a bad offseason. I was like, I mean, you can say that, but I feel like if you're saying that, you sipping on the positivity. Maybe I'm just too negative, too pessimistic.
No, I think it's a bad offseason if you look at the roster. It's worse from last year.
Yeah, it's worse. It's worse. And the fact is, Terrence, their offensive line play is hard to find. But Terrence Steele, even him moving that left tackle and spotting up, I feel better with him playing at spots over there with Tyron out than, the old tackles they keep bringing in. They keep bringing in those old guys, and it's like, man, those guys are available this late for a reason. And even though I was giving Tampa praise last week for signing Akeem Hicks, man, if you want to look at it, guys getting signed this late, what do you have left? And you paid him, and they paid him $10 million. He could come out and be phenomenal. He could come out and be, that's why he was available. And so I think the Cowboys, if they pick up those veteran guys like that, that's a problem. Like the receivers are thin. I know Gallup was working on the chords. But you got a rookie coming in who I think is going to be a nice player. But you got James Washington, unproven. Saw his time in Pittsburgh. He was okay. But it's like offensively, you're going to think they're going to take like somewhat of a step back with the weapons. So Dak has to be efficient. The running game has to be better. Now they've done the young kid they drafted. I keep hearing that he's strong, and what they say about that is, basically, Cowboys haven't had a strong interior force at the other guard position aside from Zach Martin since Ron Leary. Ron Leary been gone a long time.
Yeah,
so that shows you that's been missing. But it's just the thing where it's a gamble. Now it's still where I think they could win the division, but it's like you just have to see a team like the Cowboys playing versus a team like the Rams, where it's like they're going for it. I want to see how it works out. I want to see how they lock horns when they play on the field this upcoming season. Because like I saw Colin Cowherd, he was like, they're the new American team, they're doing this, they're doing that, and I was like, man, this thing can change in a heartbeat. I love what they did. It feels like Madden, but you get a couple of things go bad, and then you looking at it, and I don't know who has their first round pick. Detroit probably has their first round pick for this year. They could be a team. You get a couple of injuries like Dak in 2020. They got Parsons. look like a generational player. You could be giving that player to, you know, the Lions, but you still got that championship. So it's still, you know, it's fine. But at some point, they need to use their draft picks.
Yeah, I just think because with Jerry, I think Jerry's age, you know,
Yeah.
dude is he's not getting any younger, and they haven't even reached. I know we over talking about championship game. They haven't reached the NFC championship game. What, almost 30 years?
They haven't reached it since '95, and it's one of those deals where there's only a few teams that haven't been to the conference championship in the NFC in that time span.
And they don't have not really any team. They don't, not even close, have the platform that the Cowboys do. That's what I guess that's what I hear from a lot of people who are not Cowboys fans. They're like, how the hell is this team getting all this attention? And what the Cowboys look like, they just look like they just content on winning the division. They don't make moves to win the Super Bowl.
It feels like that, and it's like, you know, now the only thing I will say about them is, I'll say this: after this year, if the pick was Smith, and a lot of people was killing the Sam Williams pick, and I could see it, but at the same time, I have a different philosophy as far as taking certain positions. Like, pass rusher is really important. So if you feel like it was a reach to take Williams there, I didn't have a problem with that, because that is a premium position. You still got the receiver that you wanted in the third round. This is the second time this has happened with Gallup too, where they wanted him in the second, got him in the third. I feel like if these picks kind of pan out, I feel like we do have to give them the credit on the draft. I don't like that they put so much pressure on the scouting department, but it's like, we moan and groan about the pick. I'm moan and groan about the Parsons pick, and I was wrong as hell. So it's kind of like, at some point, cut them some slack. Now, the free agency and the trades, that's what you should not give them slack on. Like, they had all those, you know, mid-round picks. Take one of those picks and flip it for an established player. But it's just, I'm really excited to see what's going to happen. I appreciate the Rams bringing us a little good football news, because the next story we got is kind of.
Yeah, I wanted to get on this. I wanted to get on this story since I got a short appearance today, and yeah, well. I'll give you all the time. I'll give you all the time until you gotta leave. You speak your piece, and I'll go in after that. I guess being based, you know, in the Texas area, and then also my connections back home in Houston, there was some stuff that when the original and we have to talk about the whole Deshaun Watson thing. When it originally came out, and the original 21, at the time I think it was 22 before one of them she took it away, came out, accusations. I believe in the midst of all that, it was already known that those are not the only 21 or 22 women that he went to go see. It was more. It was damn near close to it. I knew it was approaching the 50 mark. I don't know if it was slightly below or even over, but you know, I knew it was around that mark. So my whole thing with watching this, why are you seeing this much women for? Well, it just happened to be women, but just as much massage therapists, and then it just turned out to be women. And you know, with professional athletes, and you hear them, they're paranoid about. Well, it's not really paranoid. It's like, especially football players, they have to take such good care of their body because the sport is so violent. So once you find that, whether it's massage therapist, acupuncture, even nutritionists, all that. Once they find somebody and it works, they stay with them. I heard I just forgot his name off the top of my head, but this morning, and he was mentioning he played 13 years in the NFL, and he only saw 5. So out of all his 13 years, only 5 massage therapists. So, and here you got Watson within a year saw over 66. I don't even know that was a year. I think that was within a month or something like that.
17 months.
Yeah, 17 months. So you like, dude, what are you doing? So and then okay, it's already unusual that you're seeing that much massage therapy. So it looks like you just letting anybody just rub you down. And then now it comes to the part where now you're getting intimate with some of these women. And if you get intimate, like, you hear stories about Will Chamberlain. Will Chamberlain was out there. Yeah, he was even we was watching after Wilt was
He was a
Wilt was
wild
popular
dude.
with Wilt was popular with the ladies. So that part you like, okay, I guess you a ladies man. I'm assuming you single now. He's in a relationship. I guess not my business, but you a ladies man. As long as if that's what you want to do in your off time, so be it. As long as it's consensual. That's how you choose to live your life. I guess oh well. But because of that and the way he went about it, like if you messing with that much, if you have that much partners, you increasing that risk of somebody waking up and saying, "Hold on." Also, they get this clarity or something, and they don't like what happened that day before, or whatever. Because he was under the impression, I guess it was consensual, whatever they did. But all they do is to change the mindset. They may say, "Oh, hold on, no, no, no," and then they go file. Now all these accusations piled up and piled up. To me, I always believe is you are innocent and proven guilty. I know he had a lot, like a mountain of accusations coming his way, and it was enough with the accusations. You like, man, dude, what you got going on? But now within the last 2 days, now you got New York Times. They did their investigation. That's when the whole 66 number came out. So now nationally, it's known how much women, he was seeing and whatnot. And still, because I don't think the issue is, okay, you supposed to have relations with all these women. Originally, it was the consent. If you had consent, if you didn't have consent. And to me, that's on like a criminal level. Because if you don't have consent, now you're knocking on the door of potentially rape. So, but that went past the whole criminal and all that. So, like, okay, I guess they couldn't find nothing there. So you passed that obstacle, I guess. So now it's basically civil.
You moved. You moved. So it looked like Shawty muted there, but yeah, it's definitely a tough situation as far as having all those cases. And I got the part of the article right here that I was reading from. I believe it was Bleacher Report, and it was showing that he initially, Sports Illustrated. He mentioned that he had booked 40 appointments, and then for it to come out and to be 66. That I know how the NFL is going to do this one, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him out for a whole year. Just because I was watching the 30 for 30 not too long ago, Michael Vick, and Vick's problem was he went to the commissioner and he lied to his face. And when he lied to his face, that was that was like, hey man, you lied to me. You had a chance to tell me how bad it was and how everything happened and played out. And once you do that, they feel burned. So, Johnny, you back?
You hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah. I was just listening to your point about Michael Vick. It's basically what Vick was with dogs.
Yeah.
Once they saw him in that light, dude,
and he lied.
That's the same thing I look with watching. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to look at it criminal. That they didn't find enough, so okay, I'm not going to look at it criminal, but you still got to deal with the civil stuff. And right now, that's basically when it's civil. Like I said, I don't really know the whole process, how civil. Because sometimes with civil, it just seems like it's just basically a he say she say case, and whatever you can say to make them come to your side more than the other side, because it's no criminal, it's no evidence a lot of the times. So I was like, dude, I don't know how you gonna get out of this, or I don't know. Regardless of how that goes, me personally, because unless you're willing to spend a long time in the court system trying to straighten this out, I'm like, dude, you trying to be a quarterback in the NFL at this moment, you still are. Who knows what the NFL going to do? They just sitting there. But I know you want to focus on that as much, as much attention a quarterback in the professional league requires. and you're gonna constantly be going back and forth or whatever, on the side with these cases. I'm like, you might just have to settle. You may just have to settle this and move on with your life, because right now, even whether you settle or whatever comes out from the civil, like right now, your name is mud right now, Doc. It's mud, and that's the thing, because with Watson from college, because Watson, everybody know about it. If you into sports, you know about his past.
Yeah.
How he was, his connection with Dewayne Wade, and how his family was, what was that, Habitat of Humanity or something?
Work done. Yeah,
work done. That's right.
He was
exactly humble beginnings. So, and he was always praised for his character from college, everywhere.
I thought he was gonna win the Walter Payton Man of the Year award. Like it was already whispered about that, and I feel like so dumb on that tape, because like I just knew, I was like, this is. I feel like it's like, come on, bro. Oh man,
it's you talking about the complete 180, and it almost feels like, he could still be a good dude, but he had a secret life going on, and it got revealed to the public. May not be illegal, because when I hear today, it's not the fact that he did anything wrong per se. They just keep saying it's unusual. It's unusual.
Yeah, but some of it crosses the line to where it's the situation to where, and I'm trying to speak lightly here because it's dealing with things of that nature, sexual assault and things like the 24th case, where he just got aggressive with the woman, and you could read it for yourself and what he did, and it was just like, bro, that's disgusting, bro. Like you can't do that. You can't go around doing that. Like, that's wrong. And it's one of those situations to where I was hearing about it this morning on the radio, and one of the NFL guys, one of the NFL insiders was saying, like, basically it's a deal where, you go to court for it, and it might criminally, it's tough to prove. And that's the toughest thing about women coming forward, and that it's tough to prove sexual assault. But them in that room, they're going to indict. But they didn't decide to go take it to trial because of the lack of evidence. But like you mentioned earlier, you don't need that for a civil case. Mm-hmm. And for the civil case, they're gonna bring out all the details they never got to bring out in the criminal case. And to have Rusty Hardin come out, and it's not the worst strategy, but it's also not the best. Where he was like, "Hey, there's nothing illegal about happy endings," and I'm like, "Ooh, this is bad. This is bad."
It's 24. So say if Hardin and Rusty, I'm gonna say Hardin, Rusty and Deshaun, they can have evidence to prove he didn't do anything with 8 women. Dude, that's just a third of it.
That's a fact.
You still have 16 more that you gotta. I'm like, dude, and it goes back, like, why would you put yourself in that situation? You don't need to see all of these massage therapists, and then you're gonna turn it up a notch and get intimate with them.
And how did the Browns? How did you give him $230 million without investing?
I heard this today, this morning on First Take and how about that, and it made sense. I know people gonna look at the Browns, but remember the Browns wasn't the only team going after Washington. No. And the Browns almost like the Cowboys as far as that fan base has been basically, they've been a notch below the Cowboys because they've been losing. Cowboys has been floating on that mediocre. But the fan base, they want to win so much. And so, of course, the owner, they're going to try to put the best they can, if they care about winning, they're going to try to put a winning team out on the field because, the city, they win so much. They said, the report came out yesterday, right? If the season starts today, after all that stuff came out about Washington, I guarantee you that stadium would have been full today. The fans they can say, they can have all these opinions about it, and like all high and mighty and whatnot, but they know they just want to win. So the owners feel that too, because the owners, and then also it goes back to even the Kaepernick thing. Their biggest thing is the bottom line. They really didn't care about Kaepernick kneeling until it was started, sponsors that people started threatening to pull out. Now you messing with their bottom line. That's all they care about. That's all the owners always cared about. So with the Browns, I think now, of course, the Texans, the Falcons, the Saints, the Panthers. I think even the Jets was one time in it. I think all those teams definitely breathing a sigh of relief. They don't have to deal with it.
No.
And meanwhile, the Browns, they just, man, Doc, you got more. We was trying to deal with the 21. Now you got 24 plus. I'm like, come on.
It's rough, man. And it's one of those deals to where, like, at first I wasn't reading the stories. So I read a few, and I was like, yo, this is creepy. What's going on, Poppy? But so I kind of left it alone. But like, it just, with it coming back, and you thinking, okay, it's resolved, where it was still like, I looked at him, we looked at him with a side eye, like, bro, you weird. You basically at this point, it's safe to say, the dude is a sexual deviant. Like he's like, bro, you need some help, like, man. But I mean, I don't know, man. I'm a transition. There's no easy way to transition from that story to this. But you want to talk about dysfunction? Talk about the team. My team that I root for in basketball. I hired a new coach.
Oh, how you feel about that Darvin Ham?
Man, I look, I even mentioned this on the Lakers Nation YouTube page. I was just like, hey, somebody was mad about the hire and saying if you got a veteran coach. We done got the veteran coaches. You done got the different, whatever. It's nothing wrong with getting a young coach because you have two players on your team that can lead you to a championship. And you watching the team in the finals. Our arch nemesis, first year coach, lead his team to the finals. You're seeing that. You tinker a few things, and I feel like the Lakers can at least get into the playoffs and compete. Will they go and be as successful and make it to the finals? Likely not, but I want a chance to compete. I want to see LeBron in year 20 in the finals. I want to see as healthy as he could be, Anthony Davis come postseason and see what it looks like. But for him to be a guy that a similar thing to coaches that LeBron respected, because I do think the one thing in his career is if he could have stayed with like a Spoelstra, even if they would have brought Dewayne back and carried that team, they could have figured it out with a coach that smart, with a good coach and a good organization. But if Ham can be a guy that gets his respect, like Tyronn Lue got his respect, that played in the league, I like that. I do like the rumor of Rasheed Wallace coming in, specifically the coach and coach of Anthony Davis. I love that. But, they kept Phil Handy, a respected assistant. But it was still tough the way things happened with the previous regime, and they got to just clean it up. And you can't fire a coach and just parade him around and embarrass the guy. That makes people not want the job. Quinn Snyder didn't want the job, which that's the next story. He didn't want the job. He was going to step down. It's a dysfunctional thing. Even though you got a friend, an all-time great you got two top 75 guys. One at the end of his career, one still in his prime, and then Russell Westbrook's status is in question, which I know people were like, hey, they're not going to trade. First of all, the Lakers have done a lot of things bad. The Anthony Davis trade, they could have handled better. You don't announce that you're trading a guy. You just go and trade them. You make the calls. You keep it quiet. You take the leaks out. One of the reasons, allegedly, Kawhi didn't want to come. The leaks. Don't have the leaks, man. Just come out, big them up, praise them, so that if you have to keep them, it's a better situation. But if you don't have to keep them, people are saying like, oh, they're gonna keep them. Trade them in the middle of the night. It's good. Everything's cool.
Go to sleep a Laker and wake up in Utah or something.
Yeah. What's going on, Mirich? I appreciate you checking me out, bro. What's going on with you, Poppy? Are you still on mute? Well, yeah.
Yo, I'm sorry. How y'all doing?
Man, we good, man. How are you, man?
I'm good, man. I was talking the whole time. I forgot I was muted.
You buddy got somebody else.
Yeah, man. I'm about dying late, man. I was just running around and stuff. What you want me to touch on?
Man, we're going on the hoops right now, and we was talking about how the Lakers. I was giving them props for hiring Darvin Ham, him hiring his own assistants, and I was gonna speak on. It's a multi-faceted deal. Quinn Snyder stepped down from the Jazz, but that Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell don't really like each other. And the other complex issue with Utah is its population being so white. Black players don't really. That's not a black place where black players want to go and enjoy the play. So you gave him the big deal, and now Donovan Mitchell is looking like he wants to get traded. I know Jay. I know if he's listening, they keep showing the graphic of him, Donovan Mitchell, going to Miami, which I think that would be the perfect culture because he doesn't play defense. And so, it's like Gobert is available, but he has the huge salary, and sometimes he can get in a situation where you play him off the floor. But me personally, I know that they take him out at the end of games. I would trade for Gobert if I was a team like the Mavericks, somebody that you have at least some perimeter defenders, and then you can just work it out. I think Kidd would work it out because
the Mavs got exposed in the playoffs because of that. They got exposed against the Warriors because of that.
Yeah, but I don't think Gobert is a good fit for Dallas. Dallas need a Gobert should be your third option in winning in a championship thing. He should be your Draymond Green for the simple fact that man got no offense at all. Dallas need like a certified second scorer, a shooter. Like I don't know if it would mix well with him and Donovan Mitchell and what's his name, the white boy, Luka. I don't think that would be because Donovan need the ball in his hand at all times. So
he needs it. He needs it a lot. I think Donovan Mitchell, but what he does need, he might not need to go to Dallas, but he needs to go somewhere where he's the number 2 option. And that's why I think
would go. Donovan would end up with the New York Knicks. You better book it. Book it right now.
No, I don't think Donovan want to go there. He want to go somewhere where he can win. And the Knicks, they almost like the Lakers, man. They can't.
Yeah.
I think players, but they want to go somewhere that's established, man. They want to go somewhere established. If Milwaukee wasn't where it's physically located at, they would be a desired spot because they established. They know who they are, And same thing with Miami. Right, one team right now who's looking, especially if he comes back healthy, and that's New Orleans. They look like, damn, this team did that's why Zion in the playoffs gave the Suns fits. You got a nice young team, and you got a young coach. Hopefully last year wasn't a blip, but usually a lot of times that's all a young team needs, some playoff experience. You saw that happen with the Suns. They got their experience in the bubble. They didn't make the playoffs, but they turned the corner in that bubble.
Every game in the bubble to try to make the playoffs. And then when the next year and then getting Chris Paul, it was great. But
Chris Paul. Yeah,
Miracek, I see you when you talk about Quinn Snyder deal, and his time was up, and he got fired, but they let him step down. And now Miles Turner, that's a player that's been linked to the Mavericks for a minute because he shoots the 3. And he can defend the paint. So I'm with you on that one. That's something they should look into. But I don't know with Mitchell. I would like to see him somewhere else and succeed. A lot of people are higher on him than I am, but I think he earned my respect. That he's a really good player. And it's just the thing with him is it goes back to something. I know everyone has always told me the point guard. The point guard is very important, but the point guard can't be the best player on the team because the last time we've seen the smallest person on the team really lead a team to a championship. I'm talking about winning. I'm sorry. No disrespect to Iverson. We have to take it back to Isaiah Thomas. And that's how far back you gotta go.
He had a squad though.
That was like a generation ago when the point guard was a point guard. Now they the best scorer on the team, for a lot of teams.
Yes, and so you have to literally look at it as a situation where if you got a guy like that and like Donovan Mitchell, I was immediately like when I found out he was like 6'1", 6'2", I was like, and he's more of a 2 guard. I was like, I've seen that story a lot of times, and they don't normally work out good. And so I do think if he goes and plays with a guy like a Jimmy Butler, I think it would be fun. But if he goes to New York, he's going to give you those fun nights because he is a volume shooter. And then he's going to give you those nights where the Knicks are just killing him. So, and the Knicks, I don't know. I don't know what move they want to make because they're at the place where it's like, bro, they have something in RJ Barrett to where if it unlocks. Now, after this year, I might be done with waiting on the potential because he is a wing player and that he was drafted really young. But do you hold on to the young guy or do you flip him for something else? Like you got to make the decision. They gave that max deal to Julius Randle, and it's like you could have asked me as a Laker fan, "Hey, bro, it's nice, that's cool, but that last year, that third team All NBA, that's the best you're gonna get from him." And ever since then, it's gonna go down. His 3-point shooting went down. It's hey man, hey, I don't know. So it's one of those tough deals where you got to figure out how it's gonna go.
Yeah, they're gonna break up.
End up.
They're gonna break up the whole Utah Jazz, man. That because the thing is constructed real bad. You know what I mean? Like Gobert is your second player. He can score. This is a scoring league. I don't care how much of the defense you play. You need to score. That's how you win.
Yeah, you do have to score. But here's the problem with him. He's you can make a case for him being the best player on the team because he's been an All NBA performer a couple of times. He can't score, and you know that, and he can get played off the floor. You know, he's not a good free throw shooter, and him playing defense off the pick and roll, you can eliminate him like when Curry and Harden used to do. But at the same time, hey man, you got this guy that's a volume scorer, but he don't play no damn defense. So it's kind of like you got them being opposites, but they don't complement each other the best because their weaknesses are so bad. So it's one of those, they have to go. It's been a toxic situation. But I know that you can say that a DeAndre Ayton and Rudy Gobert are outdated players. I don't quite think so. I think you can find places for a big and still produce because the lack of size Miami had did hurt them against the Celtics. Because you can say that,
bro. DeAndre I'm not gonna say great. He's a good center, bro. His mid-range game is nice. You know what I mean? He's nice.
Talking about Bam?
No, DeAndre
Ayton.
Oh,
He's mid-range. He's a 20-point, 12 rebound guy.
Yeah, Ayton has some offense. I think I made the point before that with Mitchell. I think Mitchell is a legit number one, especially in the playoffs.
You think so?
He turns it up in the playoffs. They had a bad season, right? Bad playoff performance this year. So that's the taste that everybody has in the mouth. Even when they was losing against my Rockets in the playoffs, Mitchell was still going off. The Rockets and James Harden was just too much for them. The Rockets had their number. But Mitchell, and then of course they had that season 2 seasons ago where they finished number 1 seed. But Mitchell goes off in the playoffs. But Mitchell on that team, he was no doubt the number 1 for the Jazz. And he was like the only position, number 1 I can remember in the NBA whose number 2 was completely defense. He had no offense. Everybody else, number 2, you got the Bucks, and you have, even the Lakers or whoever the more established teams, they had a number 1 and number 2. Well, Utah had that too, but it's just their number 2 is completely defensive. He ain't showing up for nowhere in offense. But they was able to get around that because when they was winning, they had Joe Ingles. I don't think he was there last year.
Bogdanovich.
Yeah, they had shooters. So they last season it is that's what everybody remembers, but they didn't have those players.
Yeah, they didn't have
they did. Yeah,
they had traded Ingles' contract because he had got hurt. They traded his contract because he got hurt. But it's like they maxed out, and you get to a point where you have a core of players, and you max out what they can do, and you either have to change the parts around them. Yes. And I'll use an example. The Mavericks, after they went to the finals, and then
blew it up.
They blew it up after the 2007 year where they had the best record and they had just a bad matchup. Dirk had to change his game, change coaches, and they needed a change because that team wasn't going to get past anywhere. You get to points where you got to get rid of players, and that's just that. You have to, we got to change this up. This isn't going to work. You figure out who you're going to keep and who's got to go. Me personally, if I'm letting go of Gobert or I'm letting go of Mitchell, why not clear your books and get rid of everybody and just totally restart?
Do what the Rockets did.
You keep Mitchell, and if you can, you keep Mitchell. You appease him, tell him to play some damn defense. You try to find you another guard. You try to find you another guard or wing that can make plays. You start him at the point, and you bring a bigger wing with him. But as far as DeAndre Ayton, did y'all hear? I don't know anybody in the chat if y'all play 2K. They said that he plays the video game too much. Like he has an addiction. And at first I was like, okay, so this is a story. It could be real, it could be fake. The story went on to say that his my player was a legend. And I was like, whoa, to be a legend, you have to play the game too damn much. And when I saw it was a legend, and I saw like proof of it, somebody had played him in a pro-am. They was playing in a pro-am, and they was like, oh man, DeAndre Ayton's in the chat. He's in here. Dude killed him. And I was like, bro, your dude is too cold. You're spending hours upon hours hurting yourself from
playing
sleep.
video game.
Come on, bro. I'm like, now that's something that's an easy fix. That dude.
Well, you know, what's his name play a lot of video games too?
Kyrie.
Gordon Hayward. He played a lot of video games too. I remember seeing his setup. I don't know if he played as much as Aiden though, but Gordon Hayward, he was a big video game head too.
Yeah, and that's my thing. I know people continually say you can play these guys off the floor, the bigs. My thing is, and I see you, Mitch, you said, yeah, I feel like OKC with all those picks, they can do something. They can really do something. Detroit, them too, we're getting Cade Cunningham and that Sadiq Bey, 3-and-D wing. What's going on, Jay? Appreciate you checking in. But it's a situation where I feel like if you get a big that can score in the paint and can shoot well enough and defend, he can make himself to where he's such a factor. You can keep playing me small and I'm going to punish you offensively. And then I will find the guy that, you know, everybody on your team can't hit the three that well. I'm going to put him on the guy that's the worst three-point shooter. Tell him, hey, give him a little space. If he goes crazy and beats us, so be it. But I'm going to punish them inside, and I need you to be a dog and score 45. If they're going to play me smart, like, you just have to play a team and play their mismatch off the floor, because that's the one thing that the people miss about the old Warriors. They had like Bogut. They had size, and it was before the league got to this level. But they were the team that created the lineup of depth. Draymond at the 5, switching everything and being like that. So I feel like it's something that you can force teams to do it, and you can play with a big. So if the Suns want to let Ayton go, Mavericks need to take a call. Pistons, a bunch of different teams need to try to inquire about it. And I know Pistons, I think that would be a good fit, because if he goes there and plays the 5, they got Jeremy Grant, who can he's the 3-and-D wing. So he's playing the 4, and basically you're playing, 1 in, 4 out. And that's basically where a lot of teams do. And I feel like if that's the future, and you got the one guy that can't shoot threes, that's fine. He shoots free throws okay. And if the Suns want to make that mistake and get rid of him, that's on them. And I think it'll be where, hey, they were up this high, and now you'll see them, and they'll just kind of take a dip. And Portland is a team that needs to. I don't know. I was on Dame, and I was thinking maybe he was available for trade. Maybe he would give up. I heard him saying, "Nah, you know what? We got cap space. I was like, oh, he's saying we. I said, oh, okay. And it made me think he's an older player.
He ain't leaving.
He ain't leaving, and I don't think they're using that draft pick. That draft pick is gonna get you. It's 7th. If it's top 3, they keep it and be like, damn, we're gonna build you with this young guy. If it's 7th, nah, they're gonna deal that pick for an established veteran.
Honestly, he was good with CJ McCollum. They just need like 2 other like big dudes that could do some stuff.
They need bigger wings, but that small backcourt, they do. That small backcourt, it's hard. Like there comes a point where you can get your physical limitations. You can't defend, and it's like Dame out there playing the 1. His defense is it's not the best. They need to get a two guard that can defend and a 3 guard. If they get a 2 and a wing, 2 wings that can 3-and-D, then you playing with something. I would love to see him play with Jimmy Butler.
I would love that, but my thing is, I don't want Dame to end up like freaking Carmelo Anthony with nobody and can't get nowhere. I just don't want him to end up like Dame is too damn good to not get a championship by himself, or he's too good to like end up like that, and we don't want that. And that's my worry with John Morant.
It's early.
I love Ja.
Super early.
The thing about with Ja though, Ja so far, once they started his teammates, he's on a good team right now.
Yeah, he's on a good team. I want him to stay on the Grizzlies too, because the Grizzlies have never had a star. Mike Conley, maybe Zach Randolph, if you want to be honest.
No,
Zach Randolph.
They didn't have a star. They was during that Grindhouse era. They were just beloved by their fans because of the way they played. But no, I think Ja Morant, he has a team because they was challenging the Warriors even without Ja. So I think
that's what I'm saying.
I think Memphis can go about like Milwaukee did with Giannis. Build a team. Don't always worry about trying to get free agents to come. Because you can trade for a good player, like
Yeah.
what the Bucks did with they bring in Holiday. You know, some teams depend on free agents. No, some teams they get a good front office who can bring in good players. They don't necessarily have to wait for a free agent. So, and I think Memphis they can do that because right now they players they have like Bain,
Desmond Bain
Brooks,
is a steal. Brooks,
all them boys can ball. And
yeah,
they who knows what kind of fits. I think the Warriors still would have beat them, but the Grizzlies would have gave them fits if Morant was still playing.
They could. What's the name? Couldn't. We keep saying it, and I know we're about to get to the finals. Hey man, what's the name? Can't really stand. Klay Thompson can't really stand in front of nobody anymore. And John Morant had him out there. I was like, hey bro, y'all keep him off John Morant because I would have got to the point if I was them and they had the championship pedigree, I would have tried to break them to be like, hey, if we run a pick and roll and they switching, switch till you get Klay. And I would have went out there and because I seen him and I was like, hey bro, take him off of him, bro. That's not a good matchup. He can't move like that. Like that's that, you know. And Klay give us some back and forth games, which he need to turn back the clock game tonight. And if they do, I think they can win it. But the Grizzlies have a team to where they're gonna be in position to be like, guys are gonna want to play with John Morant 100%. And if you have the pieces, like you got a Desmond Bain, you got a Jaren Jackson Jr., you know, you got the Dylan Brooks, you got guys like that. You have your draft picks, if I'm not mistaken, because I think they would have got an extra pick this year, depending on where the Lakers pick found. But you got picks and you got players people want. Go ahead and if you have expiring deals, which is what teams want, make a deal for a player, get them to Memphis, and then once they see what it's like, you know, maybe they'll stay. And my perfect example of that is Toronto. They knew that, but they knew why they didn't want to go there. And Pop knew that. Pop knew that shit too. And he's like, I ain't sending you where you want to go. He won him a ring, then he went where he wanted to go. And you know, whatever happens. But I do think building up that culture. Heater an example. They did not have the cap space to sign Jimmy Butler. And
I'm forgetting something, man. With the Grizzlies, that thing, if they don't cash in the next year or maybe 2 years, is over. Because that's a small market thing, and those players, guess what's going to happen in 2 years? They're going to get paid. And usually those small teams, they can afford those big old contracts. They can only afford that one guy, and then put little contracts around him. You see what I'm saying? That's how the league is.
You could say the same thing about Milwaukee though, like that, and they still been relevant.
But Milwaukee is always an exception to the rule, man. Nothing is 100%. The only reason that works for Milwaukee is because Giannis worked with them. He said, I don't want to go nowhere. That's the only reason.
Poppy, I meant to tell you that, and I was letting you make your point, but I heard this, and I had to look it up to make sure it was true. The Grizzlies are going to be okay. I want to say their owner, I think he's the CEO. He's the CEO, or he was the CEO. Basically, he's worth $14 billion. They can pay they can pay the luxury tax, bro. And I heard them say that, and I was like, they got an owner like that. When I see $14 billion,
it's like an Indian guy, right?
I'm not sure exactly what his nationality is, but I do know he's super paid, and he's similar to the guy out in Los Angeles, the old guy from Microsoft, the Clippers owner. He's worth like $20 billion. They're gonna overspend and keep up with people, and you know, to keep their team. So I do think if he gets the right players in there, he's gonna pay them. And he was the founder and CEO of Wireless Equipment. Wow. So yeah, he's super paid, and like now they're gonna be able to keep Ja. They're gonna super max him, and at that point they could just be able to make trades. But it's exciting to see what's gonna happen. I know, like a friend of mine was like, "Man, the finals going on. Why ain't that excited?" I said, "Well, you're not excited because you're a Mavs fan, and you ready to see how they're gonna improve. You ready to get to the offseason." And but coming up with this game, they get ready to start now. Like I don't know, man. I felt like the Warriors in 6. But then when I seen them just kind of give up that lead in game 1, I was like, maybe they just they just fell asleep at the wheel.
They shouldn't have fell asleep because normally they always awake.
Yeah.
Well,
I know excuse for them.
I'll say this before y'all jump into the game tonight, because I gotta mention to Dante now. I gotta head out early, so I'll let him finish. Let him go over the game with you two and whatnot.
I got you.
I think it's going to be a good game. My thing is, Celtics going to have to find out what to do in that third quarter. I mean, you can't depend on having a historic quarter in the fourth to win games. So, right now, consistently, Golden State has been winning. They're dominant in that third quarter. So Boston got to figure that out. Maybe they'll get some home cooking going tonight. I mean, you saw they caught a flash of lightning in the fourth. And then that lightning didn't come in game two. That light they was on their own. And then so it just depends on one thing I still see with Boston. They still have turnovers. And Golden State is making them pay with that. That's mainly one of the main reasons that third quarter gets the lead, that it does. So I think it's going to be a good game. I'm pretty sure Boston is well aware of that whole turnovers and the third quarter production and whatnot. Because the first half is almost a wash. I think the Warriors was up 2-1 game and the Celtics was up 2-1 game. It's just that third quarter where stuff just changed. But, yeah, I think it's going to be a good game. And I guess with that, I got to run early. So I will holler at you boys next week.
All right, Johnny, you take it easy, man.
All right, man. Johnny, you well, man.
All right.
So, taking up for what Johnny was saying about it being even in the first and second quarter, man, the Celtics, it was a stat today. I didn't get the exact number because I was working. They've been outscored, their worst quarter is the third quarter. They've been outscored the most in the teams remaining, the most in the playoffs in the third quarter. And that's the quarter where you're supposed to come out and make adjustments. But I did hear a guy that a national reporter, Howard Bryant, was just like, they're so cocky and they know they're good and they come out in that third quarter sometimes and they coast and they get behind and then they catch up because they're so talented to catch up. But that's something that you don't want to do. And I feel like when you get not just feel like, statistically speaking, when the series is 1-1, if you take that 2-1 lead, you normally have a good, strong chance of winning that series. And then when it's 2-2, if you take that 3-2 lead, that's normally the teams that win the series. So this is a big swing game, especially with them being at home and basically having the home court advantage. It's time for the Celtics to seize. We'll see, if they can be efficient enough to pull the game off. And what I mean by that is game one, I saw someone put, oh, man, Jason Tatum should be mad at his teammates. And I was like, why? He was 3 for 17 in game one and they won the game. He had those assists, but he was still 3 for 17. It's a team deal. He's not the most efficient at times. He was going. Jaylen Brown wasn't going, and nobody else was going. And it's one of those deals where at some point is Al Horford, Derek White, Grant Williams. I feel like this is a Grant Williams game, where he steps up and hits like 4 threes. Are those guys going to be able to continue to step up? And, what are they going to do? And because Steph is doing his thing, but he's going to have to find a way in the fourth quarter to get some buckets. When it gets tight, extend that lead. Huh?
I said Jordan Poole. That's what he needs.
Jordan Poole, that's a guy they really need. But I was hearing that Jordan Poole, his problem is like defensively. Sometimes he's poor defensively, but it's not just that. It's the fact of him always needing to feel like he needs to get the shots up. And sometimes if Jordan Poole is getting shots, who's not shooting the ball? Steph, Clay. Now I ain't putting Wiggins in there because he's basically the fourth option on the team. But, so even him, if you want to say those guys aren't getting shots. So it's just kind of like, they're going to have to find a way to balance the offense and get it going. I will say it's going to be huge if, Kevon Looney can have a big game. He's made a major impact. But if Horford has one of those games where he's at home and he's making plays and Grant Williams and Derek White, you can forget about it unless they just getting crazy performances the other way. But the major wild card is going to be Klay Thompson, man. Does he have a game where he's feeling good? He's making shots, and because he can get unconscious. Like him and Steph are 1 and 2 they get unconscious. Hey, bro, go on and fold it up, put the reserves in, But that's so I got them. I'm still sticking with Warriors in 6. So I think they take this
Warriors in 6. Same thing.
I picked that. That was my original pick. Golden State in 6, but I ain't gonna lie to you, man. After that first game, I feel real bad about my pick, bro. Because
why you feel bad about your pick?
That way, because you got to watch the game. I mean, obviously you've been watching the game, but what I'm saying is like how the game developed. It didn't give me that much confidence. That's why. Like I did late in the first game, number 1, Golden State blazed them on the third quarter. The fourth quarter, they just disappear. And also the
Yeah,
Boston, don't get me wrong,
that was
Boston,
weird.
how many threes they hit in the fourth quarter? They hit like 9 threes, something like that. This is some unheard of stuff. So, and then in the way that the game started on the second game, Boston was up by like 10, 11, 12 points too. So I was like, hold on, they can play. The key for the game today is I want to see how my man Clay played, man. I know Clay. I mean, he got like a ACL injury, and then he tore his Achilles, so he come from like messed up injuries. So I don't think he got his legs under him yet. So, but Clay is due for a big game. I don't know when it's gonna happen, but he gonna drop 30 at some point before this goddamn
What's going on
series over. Clay Thompson.
Yeah.
I think he's gonna drop 30 points in the next 2 games.
I think it's coming. I think it's coming at some point. He's too much of a big time player, and that's the thing about veterans. When you get them veterans that have won championships, they know what's happening. They know their body's hurting. They know what's going on. Man, appreciate you checking us out, Ian. They know how to get it done, and they just got to get in that rhythm. They got to feel right. That's why you see them guys, them older guys, you know, they're trying to stay warm. They're over there hitting the exercise bike. They're trying to keep it going. And when they get in, when Clay gets in that rhythm, he gets in that rhythm. So we got to close it up here. So we're going to go with final remarks. So last few minutes, anything you want to touch on, whether it's the finals, we gave our picks. If you want to speak on what we talk about with Donovan Mitchell and the basketball, what the Jazz are going to do, or DeAndre Ayton, or anything like that, or even anything NBA related, since we're on the NBA. I'm going to speak on
Okay. Warriors in 6. I still got that. I think they're going to close it out. Like I said, Steph Curry, man. It's fucking Steph Curry. The man can shoot threes from anywhere. If just let him get hot like he always does, and he can't be stopped. You know that. That's his whole thing with him. He cannot be stopped once he gets going. No, it's difficult to guard that motherfucker and stop him from making threes because he spreads out the floor. So I still think, like I said, if Clay does his job, Draymond definitely does his job, and you add in Andrew Wiggins and Jordan Poole into this, then yes, they can do something. And Jordan Poole, yeah, he may not be able to do defense, but he needs to be able to get this. He can get up forward with his offense. Is what he can do. Like I said, you could do one. Like you'd be good in one area, but you got to contribute at least in one of those two. Draymond just keep being Draymond when he's doing them fucking podcasts. You know that, right? But the Jazz will be okay. Like I said, they got to start Donovan Mitchell. He's not going to Miami, guys. Relax. I'm a Miami Heat fan. I know that trade is never going to happen. They're never going to do that. They'd have to give up Kyle and Jimmy for him. Most likely.
They're not giving Jimmy. Like it one of those deals where he's untradeable. And then the thing is, what you got to realize is, if he asks for the trade, depending on how he asks for it, they don't have any power. Like they're Utah, they're trying to keep on to, a good young black player. But
exactly. Because he's more developed. He's more growing and stuff. And not to mention he has Rudy Gobert, Mike Conley, and Jordan Clarkson. That's his name.
Yeah, they still got Clarkson as a good bench player. So I don't know. It's something that's gonna be tough for them that they're gonna have to figure out. But it's gonna be
like I said, some rebuild for them and Dante, and they'll be all right, man. Like I said, if we look at the Warriors, if we look at the Mavs, like what the Mavs are able to do this year. So yeah, it's just like it's possible.
It's possible, definitely. And they didn't. And only players they drafted relatively high were Luka and Jalen Brunson. He was a second-round pick.
Brunson. That motherfucker underrated right now because
they were Dorian Finney-Smith, undrafted. Kleber, I think he was a undrafted or second-round guy. Like a lot of their players they developed and kept for a while. But no, man, I think it's gonna be an exciting all season. I'm hoping for an exciting finals in the end. I'm hoping for some drama. Hoping for a close game in the fourth with some big shots. I'm hoping for that, so that we get the good finals, because I'm convinced that the offseason, it's not a lot of players out there free agency-wise to sign, but it are still interesting moves to make. And, you got, teams like the Lakers trying to turn it around. The Celtics will either be trying to get to a championship or not. You do have, as quiet as it's kept, the Clippers. The Clippers are someone not to sleep on because they're going to get
Leonard.
And they got a complete squad. But you do have some other teams in the West that are going to kind of, some teams might drop. If the Suns get rid of Ayton, I do think they slip a little bit, and they can find somebody to replace them. But you took them number 1 overall for a reason. He's a talented player. So, Poppy, anything you want to finish up with, man?
Gotcha.
Yeah. I know you touched about the Lakers. I think that was a good hire, since the fact that he can relate to LeBron. He already played in the league. But the thing is, Anthony Davis can't stay healthy, man. That is the bottom line. So it just, I think the Lakers they need a scorer as a number 3. They need to get Westbrook out of there. I
Yeah.
think they need to switch. They need to find a way to swap Westbrook with Bradley Beal. I don't know if that's even possible, but
Nah, it's not possible. The only thing that we could get, and it's my last point, my last 2 points before we wrap up the show. I know we got like 2 minutes left. Anthony Davis, he does get hurt a lot. He normally probably plays around 60, 65 games. The year after the bubble, that was the shortest offseason in NBA history. So you can understand the injuries happened in that year. This year, he had a lot of weird injuries, guys stepping on his ankle, things of that nature. Freak accidents, those things happen, unfortunately, to him more than others. I feel like he has a normal season where he plays 60, 65 games. You rest him when you can. I think they'll be fine. And as far as Westbrook, if they could make that move, it would take 2 first-round picks. Russell Westbrook, 2 first-round picks because they want his expiring contract for, I'm trying to think of the guy from the Pacers. I know Buddy Hield is the shooter, and the point guard, Malcolm Brogdon. I think that would be the trade I would like, or for them to get Christian Wood. So if they could pull that off, I'd be happy. But with that said, man, I appreciate everybody in the chat showing up, man. Appreciate everybody. Appreciate you, Poppy, for popping in. Appreciate
Anytime.
you guys. We're gonna be back next week, man. This is the Black Man Unfiltered Network. This is the 1-on-1 Sports Show, and we'll talk to y'all next week.